5 feet 6 inches tall, weighing in at 146 pounds, fighting out of London, England, Nathaniel the Prospect Wood!
I just wanted to jump back before your most recent fight and that short notice that you've taken. How does that phone call go?
The most simple thing, right? My manager will text me, say, "Hey, Nath, here's from Sean. Hey, Shelley, Nathaniel Wood versus Mohammed Naimov, Abu Dhabi, this date, thumbs up, thumbs down. Like, are you interested?" And literally it'll be, "Yeah, cool, send the contracts over." That simple. Especially with me, I guess I'm a small fish in a very big pond. There's no sort of, what about this? There's no real negotiations, I can ask for a fight and say, "Hey guys, I know you're coming to London at this point. Can we get a fight?" "Yeah, cool. Let me see what I can do." Or it'll be, they'll say, "Do you want to make this date?" And I say yes or no.
With something like that as well, when you get a text from Sean Shelby and he goes, "Do you want to take this fight?" It's on 5 weeks' notice against a guy. It's his home crowd. Yeah. He's obviously got his own win streak going on. Do you at any point look at a text like that and go, why would they do that? Do they want me to lose this fight? Or is it literally just a case of they need a fight? Like, what's the motive here? Why haven't they told me this 4 months ago?
I did. Like, there was part of me that straight away thought, they want me to lose? Why would they offer me that? That doesn't make sense. But then I think maybe no one's fighting him. Maybe they've offered him already 3 opponents and they've said no. I've had fights before. I got offered 3 names. I accepted every one. And then when we chased up to say, "Is this good?" they went, "No, so-and-so's not fighting." I think he was meant to be on the card from the get-go. I reckon he got offered a few names and people were like, "Nah," or 5 weeks notice, "Nah, I'm all right." It might not be the best thing, but they know that I'll just fight anyone.
Do you feel like that gives you like brownie points with the UFC? So like sometimes you will.
No,
because obviously this isn't an ideal situation for you. But if you take this non-ideal situation, is there a thought that they'll set me up with something nicer along the line?
I don't know. It's a tricky one. There is a lot of time where, because even I don't have much dealings with the UFC. I just leave my manager to it and sort of as the middleman. I don't want to get too involved and take things too personally, because at the end of the day, it's business. Of course, I'm sitting there thinking, I want a top 15, I want a top 10, I want to play this smart and get to the belt. Then when I'm offered a name, I'm like, yeah, I'll fight him. Can I make weight? Yes. Does the date work with me? Yes. Cool. I get paid. Obviously, the plan was to beat him. And then I'm thinking, right, then what? Do I get a top 15? Do I get top 10? If they offered me again an unranked opponent, I'm like, all right.
When you talk to the UFC after a fight like that, where there are significant moments that you can point to in the fight and go, really? And this has cost me, my 3-fight win streak here. Do you then have a discussion with the UFC and be like, well, what do you guys think? Where do we go from here? What did you think of the fight? Did you think that I got screwed over there? How does that discourse go? Or do you literally just go home?
Obviously, after the fight, I was a bit teary. But if I'm honest, it was more just because I just knew that I was just letting myself down kind of thing. Obviously, I've never had this situation where it's like we've put an appeal in to kind of say, look, please review this. Yeah. Just have a look. And at the moment, they've said that the legal team are reviewing it still. So I feel like that's good in the sense where they're taking it seriously. They haven't just gone, yeah, we looked at it and no, they look like they're actually looking into it properly. There's a commission that oversee it because my manager texted the UFC. The UFC said, here are the details for the people that you need to talk to. They've messaged back just to say, look, we've had a little delay with obviously what's going on with John Jones. We are going to look into this and we will let you know. Yeah, and I think the good thing with the UFC as well is, like, going back to the rank thing, is that you're only 1 fight away from, going straight. Like with boxing, it's a little bit more political, I think. Yes. So let's say tomorrow Giga pulls out because he's injured. They could just say, Nathaniel, do you want to fight Josh? Yeah, cool. And then boom, you beat Josh Emmett. You're now ranked top 10, top 5. Yeah. And you literally just lost to a guy that was like, it's MMA is very kind of, I think the opportunities just come about with so many injuries. And, a lot of people don't take fights on short notice. Being at bantamweight, I probably need 12 weeks notice, 10 weeks max, like to make weight. The UFC don't really give you that much notice. I'm not a big, I'm not Conor McGregor. I'm not the champ. And, the plan is to get to that level, but why are they going to be thinking 12 weeks ahead for me? You do get it occasionally. Oh, there's a London card coming up. We'll put you on that. It's in 14 weeks. Sweet. But, a lot of the opportunities come at 8 weeks notice, 10 weeks notice, and I can't make weight. And if I do, it's a struggle. So I'm like, right, if I fight 145, I can have a life. I can actually, I got married, got the missus pregnant, and then 5 weeks out from the fight, they're like, do you want to come and fight and earn 60 and 60 if you win? It's like, fuck yeah, you know, why would I say no to that? I like fighting. You know, obviously this is my job now and it is a business, but I love competing in mixed martial arts. You know, I enjoy it. I did it for free for many years. So you could say, sorry guys, I'm going to sit on the shelf and wait for a top 10. And then the UFC say, all right, cool, you're going to be not fighting until May next year. That's long. I don't want to do that.
When it's all said and done, how much does your ambition lie in the fact that need to achieve the title, I need to become a champion?
I would be happy still without it, because obviously to become UFC world champion is a big task. You know, that's like saying I want to be number 1 in the world, but I won't be happy if I'm 2. I do want to be world champion, but my original dream was I just want to be an athlete full time. MMA was the only kind of sport at the age of 16 that you could kind of start and actually make a career out of. You know, football and boxing, you need to start pretty early. I'm doing that now. So I am living the dream that I set out. You know, I'm not in a building site. I'm not in an office. So I get to compete, travel the world and fight against the best in the world. That's, you know, dream number 1 achieved. Yeah. My second one was I want to be a main event in London '02. So before I ever had a fight, I watched Jimmy Manuwa. At the time was my teammate. He headlined the card, Gustafsson, yeah. And I remember looking and saying to my dad, I need to do this. I want to be the main event. I've not done that yet, but I've been on the main card. Yeah. So I'm getting there. When I get that opportunity and, you know, hopefully get the win and my home crowd main event, then it's okay, what next? So I've got all these small goals. And if let's say, touch wood, I get an injury now and that's it. They say, like, Nath, you can't fight anymore. Your knee's mangled, whatever. I can sit and say, I've got a mortgage through this job. I've got a nice chunk of money. I had a nice wedding. You know, I've achieved for 10 years what I've wanted to do. I've done this full time for probably 10 years now, but I want more, but I would still be happy with what I've had. When people say about the UFC not paying people enough, it's like, of course, I would love to have more money. If the UFC say, Nath, we're going to pay you 10 million a fight, well, you think I'm going to complain? No, I'm happy with what I'm getting, man. I'm getting like, my contract now is 60 and 60. So if I win a fight, I get 120 grand. If I have 3 of them a year, my money goes up after every win anyway. You telling me I wouldn't be happy with 360 grand?
And what does your life look like at the moment? What is, compared to what it was prior to the UFC? What is the UFC and sort of that 60 and 60 done for you? What does you riding around in like sports cars?
No, if anything, it's made it more stressful.
Yeah.
So now that I'm earning such a significant amount of money, well, I think it's a hell of a lot of money anyway, compared to what I was earning on building sites, it's now made it more of a job, you know? So as much as I'm like, I just love fighting, you do have to be sensible. So even now I'm sitting there, should I have took that fight on 5 weeks notice? Could I have done something different? You know, should I have had a different coach for this? Should I have done this? And you question yourself, because now it's like, this isn't just about going in and having a scrap. That loss cost me 60 grand. So now I'm a bit pissed. You know, I'm a bit like, oh shit, man. You know, I let my wife down. If I had just, you know, chased him down that last couple of minutes a bit earlier, could I have finished him and then had 60 grand for my family? So it does make it a lot more stressful. If I wasn't in the UFC, I wouldn't be doing this full time anymore. I'd have had to get a job. I've got a family to look after. You know, I've got a baby on the way, so I can't be fighting on Cage Warriors for £2,000 a fight 3 times a year, 6 grand. You know, that's just selfish on my part. So
because it's such a unique position to be in, where you have so much leads up to one date, like one 15-minute period where you have to just prepare as much as you can, and the income is resting on those 15 minutes.
Pressure.
And anything could happen.
Yeah.
You
so
know?
When I say stressful, that's what it should be. It's more pressure now. Yeah. I was looking at is that win that fight and you're potentially 3-4 fights away from fighting for the belt, becoming number 1 in the world. Yeah. Like, what an achievement. Now I've lost. I'm like, right, you know, what am I, 2 steps back, 3 steps back? What's next? But it's almost like, I want the answers now. Who am I next fighting? When am I next going to fight? And it's not the best job for your mental health. Yeah. There's a lot of hours in the day where, you know, let's say at the moment I train 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening. In the day, I don't do anything else. That's why I've started a lot of businesses, because mentally, I can't sit there and just play the PlayStation. And I think that when I first kind of got diagnosed with my anxiety and stuff, I believe what it was at the time I was training in North London. So it's an hour and a half journey there, and it's an hour and a half journey back. So in total, it was just over 3 hours once I get door to door. And Brad and all the teammates that I'd usually traveled with went to Saigon, which is in Vietnam, for about 3 weeks. So for 3 weeks, I was on the train every day for 3 hours. Now, at the time, I didn't know to take a book. I didn't put headphones in. I just sat on the train, right? And I think that's where I made up all these scenarios in my head, and I got very fucking unhealthy in my brain, you know, because 3 hours a day on the train, when you're just sitting there and you're just going away with your thoughts and all your worries and insecurities and doubts come into your mind. And next thing, like 2 weeks later, I'm suffering with anxiety and depression bad. You know, I had to go to the doctors, eventually got diagnosed, and now I'm still dealing with stuff like that now. But I believe that was because I wasn't occupied. You know, if you go to the office from, let's say you start at 8 or 9 and you go on till 5 and then you don't get home till 6, all day you're occupied. You've got your mind focused on something. Your worries are, right, I better get this job done, otherwise my boss is going to tell me off. Whereas I don't have that. You know, I have a lot of things to worry about. So I think about what I'm going to do after my career. You know, I think about, if I have a headache, could it be this illness? Could it be that illness? Sometimes there's so many hours in the day, it can really mess with your head. It's not as easy as just going to the gym, just staying at the gym. You know, the gym's my peace. That's where I meditate. You know, I go away and all I got to focus on is training. And you get home and you're like, now what? It's weird. It's a weird job to have.
I know Rich Franklin spoke about it in his TED talk, how I learned to be a loser. What's it like to go from all these lights go down on you, you get this big win, or you might take a loss, and then in a blink of an eye, you're back home, you're sat in your bedroom, you're by yourself. And what is that change like? How do you deal with that as an athlete at that stage?
So with a win, the best thing for me, I don't want a club, I don't want any of this. I go home, and after the Charles Rosa fight, so I got the train back with my dad and my 2 cornermen. My missus was still at the venue watching the fights, having drinks. I got home. This was probably about 9 p.m. We had a KFC on the way back. I sat on my sofa with a cup of tea, and I looked at my dog and went, "We done it, boy." And that was the best feeling ever. That was the best after party I could have asked for. You know, I don't want anyone in my face, drunk, you know, whatever. When you have a loss, it's weird. You go home, you sit down. Should I have done this? Fuck, I just lost 60 grand. Shit, I just done this. That, you know, so after that Mohammed Naimov fight, we went back and we put the UFC on to watch the fights. But now I'm in a dark place because I'm thinking of 101 different scenarios that could have happened. Yeah. And there's nothing to distract me from it.
I think that's why the sport is so amazing and so brutal at the same time. Like, that's what won me over about the sport, because it's like I've only been a fan for like 4 or 5 years at most, but it's like you have that one moment, and it's like it's the ultimate 8 Mile thing of like you got to capture it.
Yeah,
you can't let it slip.
So the prime example I always look back on, and this is where, you know, you said the thrill and the agony, and this has worked in my favor, was the Josh Reed fight. There's a lot of times where the ref could have stopped that fight because he was just pummeling me. You know, things weren't looking good. I end up knocking him out in one fight and then going on to the UFC, and now look how my life's changed. Whereas I don't really know what he's doing now, but he's not in the UFC, and you know, he could be sitting there and thinking, man, if the ref just stepped in, I could have been in the UFC, I could have been doing this, and maybe I wouldn't be nowhere near as successful as I've been now. And I don't know, I'm back on regional shows and I've given up and gone, I'm just going to go and work on a building site now, because there's only so long that you can try on the regional scene. And so that's why sometimes I try, when I have these losses, I try and just say, but you've had the thrills as well. You know, you have the agonies, but be grateful for what you have got. And, you know, I do try, and when I went back to the Abu Dhabi room, I was like, you know, down in the dumps, teary, crying, whatever. And then I just thought, I'm healthy. My wife's still back at home. You know, I've got my daddy, I've got my teammates here. You know, I haven't got a win and come away with broken legs and arms and concussions. And, you know, I'm healthy, I'm ready to go again.
How much does it help having someone like Brad, who's had a career with so many like amazing fights and moments, but also some tough losses as well, like as a mentor in that? He must have some good advice for you.
Yeah, he's a godsend, mate. You know, to have a coach that has literally been there at the same weight that you were, you know, it's great. You know, and obviously after fights, I think a lot of fighters, the coaches aren't necessarily there from, you know, they're a bit pissed off. Oh, if you won that fight, I would have been cornering you for the UFC title, whatever. My cornerman, one's my dad, so he's obviously there for me. One's Brad, who's like my dad, you know, and then Ashley, who's my jiu-jitsu coach, who we're very, very close as well. So, you know, after the fight, none of them guys went, right, we're going down to the bar. Yeah. They're in my room with me. Yeah. I'm bollock naked on my bed, just watching the fights, just not knowing what to do with myself. Yeah. And they're there next to me, eating pizza, just there for me.
Are they naked as well, or are they?
Well, after midnight, yes, but nah, they weren't. So I was under the cover, you know, I just got into bed naked. I sleep naked, so I got in bed, and then they're just on the other side, and then we got loads of chairs in the room, and they're just sitting there next to me. They know exactly where I'm at. You know, when I got into the cab, because straight after the fight, since COVID, they take you straight back to the venue. I'm crying my eyes out, and they're like, mate, let it out. You know, I'm trying not to cry, and they're like, let it out. Yeah, they know exactly where I've been. Obviously, my dad's not competed in the UFC or anything, but he knows I'm his son. You know, he's like, Nath, I don't want any of your money. I don't want anything from you. I just want the best for you. And, you know, Ashley and Brad as well, because I think they fought. I've had it before where Ashley's lost and he's crying his eyes out and I'm cuddling him. You know what I mean? And there are a lot of coaches out there which I haven't got their fighters' best interest at heart. You know, they're there to promote their gym, to promote their brand, and this is business. For me, my coaches don't care about any of that. You know, they're there for me, and, you know, I'm lucky that I've got friends for life through mixed martial arts.
As a fighter, are there any things behind the curtain that we as fans just don't see that would surprise us as fans?
Everything. You know, literally probably 98% of stuff people don't see. They don't see the hard training. They don't see the sessions where, let's say I'm fighting in 2 weeks' time and I go sparring and I don't do well. And now the doubt that's sitting in my head and the mental insecurities that fighters have, you know. So for you guys, you watch a fight, okay, we got the UFC on Saturday. That's it. For me, it's 12 weeks, 10 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever the fight camp is, of constantly thinking about one guy. I go home, I think about that man. I go to bed, I wake up, I think about that guy again. You know, then the fighter pulls out. Now my head's all over the place. They bring someone else. Now I'm training for him. You know, there's a lot of, it's not the physical bit of training that's hard, it's the mental aspect. You know, now I'm fighting this guy. What do I need to do? Should I do this? Why didn't I have a good training session today? You know, why didn't I hit my usual PB on the treadmill? Is there a reason? And, you know, the mental side of things, people just don't see. They don't see that when you get trolls message you, that maybe that might affect you. You know, luckily I don't actually get much of that because I just don't reply. I don't entertain it. But people like Paddy Pimblett, mate, I don't know how he does mentally with it, but I'm sitting there thinking, man, I've seen comments before that people have done on Twitter, not even in his DMs. And I'm like, if you said that to me, I would want to be finding you. I'd want to try and get your IP address and come and find you.
When you do look at guys like Paddy Pimblett, when you do look at guys like Ian Gary and even like Conor McGregor himself, who have been so outspoken and kind of got the heat they've got, do you look at that as a guy who is a UFC vet now with 10 fights and go, fuck it, shall I just get out there and just curse and say some shit and hopefully this will drive my career a little bit more? Is that going to help me more than how I'm doing it now?
It's gone through my head before, can't do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just not me. I feel like you're selling your soul. You know, if you can do it naturally, mate, good luck to you. You know, if you're, let's say Colby Covington, you know, if he generally doesn't care what people think, great. I can't do it, man. If someone says to me, I don't like you, I'm like, why? Like, let's sit down and have a chat, you know. A lot of people don't see that side of things, you know. They don't see the weight cuts. They don't see when you get up in the morning, you get on the scales, you're not hitting the weight target that you want and you're now depressed because of it. And so there's so much that people don't see. They just see the fight.
Have you ever had temptations where you've had a fucking massive win, you go to a club, some guys lined you up with a bunch of cocaine, or he go, Nath, take the watch. Have you never had shit like that? Where
I wish I had the watch.
Yeah,
I've got the Rolex in the buy. I was thinking, come on, where's everyone else for me? No, and I think, like, mate, I've not even had, like, one of my friends, he gets all these girls messaging him all the time, like just random girls, and I'm like, I never get that. Like, am I ugly or something? But he said, no, I think it's because you have a wife. No, but like, I promote that. I put on my Instagram a picture of me, my wife, and my dog. Yeah. You know, I'm just normal, and I don't think I entertain that, which is why I don't necessarily get loads of girls flooding through my DMs. I don't ever have guys saying to me, come to the nightclub and get a bit of cocaine, and because I think they know he ain't that guy. You know, whereas I don't know what he's like, but maybe Sean O'Malley, who's a bit more out there with Logan Paul, them guys, they're like, yeah, let's do this. I don't, man. I go home and have a cup of tea and a pizza and after the fight, you know. Yeah, to me, I'm just being myself, you know. I've never been that guy I've never done cocaine. So why would I start now?
Just going back to the question we talked about with people who do trash talk, things like that. Do you think those people who make those kind of statements and say those kind of like crazy things, do you think that increases the mental insecurity that you talked about because now you're putting more pressure on yourself to perform? Or do you think the people who say those kind of things don't have that same kind of worry? Yeah,
I don't think they look into it. I would. If I said, Mohamed Naimov, I'm going to knock him out in the first minute, 100%, I've just put a lot of pressure on myself. Because now if I don't knock him out in the first minute, I'm like, oh, didn't do what you said you're going to do. So even, I don't know if when you've seen me do interviews, I'll always quote like, I believe that I'm going to knock him out in the first round. Because I'm already saying that if I don't, I didn't say I was going to, I said I believe that I'm going to.
Fair enough.
Because I don't want to add that pressure to myself.
Sure.
You know, I could still win the fight in great fashion, but someone will be like, you didn't knock him out in the first minute. The guys like Paddy, Sean, O'Malley, McGregor, great business mind if you want to go down that route. You know, so let's say right now Paddy's earning a hell of a lot of money. He's now probably set up for life with the brand that he's built, which is himself. He's probably getting a lot of stick, I imagine, if he's got 2.5 million followers. Yeah. I wouldn't want that. I generally would think, if you said to me now, right, Nath, you can have a couple of million followers on Instagram, you're going to make a couple of mil through fighting, but lots of people are going to hate you, and you're going to have to act. Can't do it. So I don't know if any of these boys are acting. Maybe Colby Covington's like that in real life. You know, good luck to him. If that's what they generally are happy to do it. I'd rather go down the GSP route, be myself, be humble, and hope that people like me. And if they don't, they don't. But I haven't sold my soul. You know, at the end of the day, I'm not a prostitute. I'm not going to sell myself to make money. But to completely change or become an actor, I'm not an actor. I can't act for shit. So if you see me having back and forth with an opponent, like beef, if you like, it's real. I think McGregor said it to Khabib in the fight, didn't he? He said, like, it's just business. I'm like, nah, man, it's not. With the words that you say, if I have a fight with someone, building, and on the build-up, he slags my wife off, I'm going to try and hit you. I'm going to try and hurt you if I can get hold of you. And if you turn around and say, oh, it's just words, man. It's just a joke. Just for the fans. Yeah. Nah, you're saying stuff that's personal. Me, you say what you want about me. I'm going to smash your face in, whatever. Cool. Like, that's the business. I get that. And that's why I get when he's fans, of course they're going to be booing me. I get that. If I walk down the road and some 40-year-old bloke don't even know me and he's like, boo, and stuff like that. What? Do you know what I mean? No, it's personal. So
I love the idea of that.
I think a lot of fighters maybe are living in the bubble.
Yeah.
And you've got to know. So if two opponents have a little chat and say, wait, let's big each other up for this. Let's let's have a bit of back and forth. All right, cool. You've just agreed to that. Sweet. If you want to do that, you do that. But if someone comes in and just assumes that I'm happy for them to say what they want about me, you shouldn't be doing that.
In regards to like the business, the idea of like what selling a fight is, do you get stuck into that at all, or not really? You just let that be?
I try to. I do try to get better, because at the end of the day, I do want to entertain people, and I believe that my fighting style is entertaining, but I also know that there's more to it. So I try and do more things. Like, for example, what we're doing today, I know that potentially I might gain a few fans of it, a few followers, a few people that are going to tune into my fights now. I can't sell myself, I can't act and be different, but I do get that you need to be out there. I don't actually want any fame at all. I hate fame. I don't like the thought of going down the street and people saying, all right, mate, and I don't know them, but I know that in this sport, you need it. We're not like footballers who just get paid a set wage just to play the game. We get your money, but how many bums can you put on seats? And the more famous you are, the more bums and seats, the more money, so on. So it's bittersweet in that sense. But yeah, I know I do kind of try and look at more fighters and think, how did he do so well? I try to learn about them, but I try and do it over the fighters that I respect, like GSP, Anthony Joshua. He portrays a very nice bloke and a very smart and humble businessman. I want to conduct myself in a manner where people want their kids to watch me.
How is your relationship with the UFC? Has it been smooth? Has it been rocky? Have you had periods where you're obviously thankful for them, but have you had periods with them where you go, you're taking me for granted here, man?
Yeah, so with the UFC, it's like, I know it's a business. So I try not to take anything too personal. Like me getting matched with Mohammed Naimov, part of me is like, why are you matching me with him? Why aren't you matching me with a top 10, top 15 guy? Is there a reason? And then you kind of just remind yourself, no, it's a business. You're just a small fish in a big pond. Don't even worry about it. Obviously, I'm very grateful to the UFC, the platform that I have. A lot of people give them stick for the money. I'm very happy with the money that I get from them, and I'm very grateful that I'm able to create a nice life for me and my family via fighting on the UFC. It scares the hell out of me that there is no kind of, if you're injured, that's it. You ain't getting any money. If your career's over tomorrow, the UFC can get rid of me at any point. In my contract, I've got 4 fights, but they can still get rid of you. So that scares the hell out of me, which is why I've done my sort of businesses. I started my clothing brand and a tutorial thing, because I earn good money at the moment and I love it and I love the UFC, but I know that tomorrow they could just say, see ya, off you go, or I get injured. I walk in front of a bus and break both my legs. You ain't fighting for 3-4 years, and then what are you going to do? So that stuff scares the hell out of me. But I do think the UFC, it is what it is. It's a business. I wouldn't say they do me loads of favors, but then they don't give me really any hard time. And, Dana White, when I had meant to fight against Shalonian something, he was the Ukrainian guy. So then he pulled out because of the Ukrainian war. He got stuck there, and they brought in another guy, and he pulled out the day of the weigh-ins. So I'm now without a fight, and it's too late to get an opponent. And in the contract, I don't think the UFC have to pay me. You know, I think it's once you've made weight, they then pay you.
Right, I see, yeah.
So I'm being told, like, okay, you might get a bit of compensation, which might be like $5,000, something like that from people. And I'm thinking, $5,000? Like, that's no good. I've been out for 2 years. Anyway, I saw Dana White at the weigh-ins and said, like, you know, Dana, like, I'm gutted, man, I'm not fighting. And, you know, I've been told there might be a little bit of compensation. Can you kind of confirm this for me? And he said, what are you on, mate? I said, 26 and 26. He went, I'll pay you everything. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's just paid me about 50 grand that he didn't need to pay, which has just saved me a big chunk of like stress. You know, I think at the time I was literally down to my last couple of quid in the bank, and I'm thinking I might have to go and get a job. And the guys just said, yeah, don't worry about it. It's not your fault. You didn't pull out. So they are very fair. And I think it's how you are. You know, with Brad, they were very fair. I remember he had a couple of fights where he lost and they gave him the win bonus. They said, you done a good fight, mate. You know, and I think his retirement fight, he lost, but nah, we're paying you the full thing. So they are very fair. But I think if you're a dick to them and you moan and, you know, you're going to be an arsehole and, you know, kick up a fuss about everything, I don't think they're going to do you any favors. But for me, I've only got good things to say about them, but I also know it's a business.
And that's the thing, as an athlete who has been with them for a long period of time now, who's done astronomically well in the UFC, but is there sort of any part of you that looks at the current state of how it operates, where you do just kind of have this monopoly at the top? There's not really any other alternatives. What is it like to be someone within an industry where there is really, realistically, only one place to be to survive?
So it's definitely nerve-wracking, because I'm thinking if the UFC cut me tomorrow, I would probably retire, because I want to be in the UFC. I want to be UFC #1. On a business level, I'd obviously think, right, you know, I need to earn some money. What are PFL paying? What Bellator paying? What are ONE FC paying? You know, there are these other promotions that are, from what I'm being told, paying people quite a lot of money, which is nice to hear. That's reassuring. I would obviously still be gutted because I want to be in the UFC. You know, that is, it's like, I don't know, if you're playing for Chelsea Football Club and then they say, right, we're going to send you off to, I don't know, someone you've never heard of, right? But that's all just on a business level. You know, if you take the money aside, I want to be in the UFC. I want to be against the best in the world. I don't actually want to have easy fights. I hate being the favourite, like against Mohamed Naimov. I want them to say, there's been a pullout tomorrow, you're fighting Josh Emmett. And I'd be like, let's go. You know, this is one of the top guys. Or Volkanovski's pulled out, you're now fighting someone for the interim title or something like that. I don't know. You know, for me, that's exciting. I want to do that regardless of the money. But yeah, it is stressful. It is a thing that, you know, definitely when your doubts sink in, you think, fuck, you know, if the UFC cut me, what am I going to do?
It's like, so you pride yourself being a UFC athlete. Is like, that's your desk.
But do people do that to you as well? What do you do? And you go, oh, I fight in mixed martial arts. And they go, oh, what is that, UFC?
Yeah, all the time. And if they don't know the UFC, I say, do you know Conor McGregor? And they go, yeah, I'll do what he does.
So what do you do when you look at someone like Francis Ngannou, who's actively worked hard to get out of that contract and sign with the PFL?
Because he was the champ, and I guess he could be like, I've done it. So so if someone said to me, I'm the Bellator champ, I'd be like, it's not UFC though, is it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But if someone said to me, I was the UFC champ and now I'm fighting Bellator, because they pay me more, let's just say, like what Francis is doing, you know, he was the UFC champ, cool, you've got my respect. But if someone says, oh yeah, I was always the Bellator champion of the world, you were never in the UFC though.
As a fan of the sport, one of the things that I always think about when I watch these sort of big arena shows, the shift for the fighters themselves, when you've got the house lights up on the crowd, everyone's going wild, and then boom, house lights go down and the spotlight is on the cage. What's going through your mind? And specifically like physically as well, because I imagine a visual shift where you can see the crowd and then all of a sudden the blinders are off. The cage light is the only thing that stands. What is that like to experience where you go, right, here we go?
So the best way I can describe it, you spend an hour and a half queuing up for a ride at Thorpe Park, and let's just say you're petrified, right? So the whole time you're queuing up, you're thinking of all these different scenarios. What if the ride don't work properly and I fall off and it's like Final Destination? Do I want to do this? What am I doing? If someone said to you, right, do you want to jump off? You'd be saying, no, I'm here to do this ride. And then when you get to that front row and you're now sitting in, you're strapped in, you're no longer thinking about what if, and all of these are different scenarios. You're like, oh shit, here we go. So as soon as that ride starts, you're in this survival mode, if you like. Once the fight starts, the crowd, they're not even there. For me personally, the cornermen aren't there. I don't really listen to them at all. Can't hear him. It's just not there. I'm tunnel vision. It's just me and him in there. And it's only after the fight that I realised, bloody hell, you know, there's 20,000 people here.
Do you notice the lights go from everyone to just you?
The most closest part to what you're saying there is probably when the music goes off, Bruce Buffer's introducing you. Maybe he's introducing my opponent, and then I'm sort of looking around thinking, taking it in. And then once it's on me, it's like, that's it, it's gone. You're back in that tunnel vision. So maybe you have little 5-second, 10-second clips where you're like, oh shit, everyone's here watching me.
Yeah.
You know, these lights are on me. That's a bright light, you know, or something like that. And then it's like, right, forget that. We're in fight.
Here we are,
again.
yeah.
Do you think about the face you're going to pull when the camera goes on? You'd be like,
I hate it, right? So when the camera is on me, I try and just focus on my opponent because I feel so... When I look at the camera, I'm like, I need to do something. I need to like do some sort of strut or like start MCing or something, you know, because the cameras get close.
Yeah.
So when someone's got a camera right in your face, you're like, what do you want me to say? You know, so I'm like, just look at my opponent, ignore the camera. Even when Bruce Buffer's right in my face, you know, my opponent like sort of screamed with him.
yeah.
I find it so cringe, right? So when Bruce Buffer's there, I don't even look him in the eye. I'm just like, this is really awkward. So I just focus on my opponent the whole time. And then after, I feel like, oh, Bruce, can we go and have a chat now? But, you know, I try to just ignore him because it's just, I don't want to, if I look at him, I'm like, this is weird, man. Like, he's right here in my face. It's like, is he going to kiss me? Or, you know, it's weird. So, yeah, it's even now, this day, you know, I've had 30 fights now, I think. And still, I'm like, still learning. I'm still learning how to deal with things when I'm in there.
One of the things that I find fascinating is that you can do all the warm-up, you're doing what you need to do to get in, to get blood moving. You get to the cage, and especially when you watch something like Francis Ngannou versus Tyson Fury, the amount of time you just sort of stand there waiting for the lights to go down, the cameras to fuck off, Bruce Buffer to get the fuck out of the cage, and you can do what you're there to do. Learning that process of being like, okay, navigating all that stuff and staying focused on the target must be kind of quite hard.
The longer it is, the harder it is. So when I used to fight as main event on Cage Warriors when I was the champ, it was horrible, man. You know, waiting. So say I get to the venue, we had to get to the venue from the beginning. So let's say 5 p.m. I'm not fighting till 11. Let's say 4.5 hours before I even start warming up, where I'm just sitting there like, gosh, what am I doing? And I can hear the crowd. And if I go out just to say hello to a couple of people, whatnot, you just look at people and someone might be getting knocked out in the cage and you're like, what am I doing, man? So for me, when people say, oh, Nathaniel, why are you like second fight on the card? I'm like, I know, but I don't care. Like, I love it. You know, get to the venue, warm up, half an hour, go. You know, get your hands wrapped, let's go. To me, that's easier. The quicker we get on and done, the better it is for me. The longer we wait, the harder it is emotionally.
What is that switch like for you? Because you're such a nice guy, such a down-to-earth guy. To get backstage at an event, to warm up for a fight, where you're going in to really hurt someone, how hard is that to make the switch from calm to killer?
I'm never calm backstage. I have to get angry. I have to think that this opponent, I think of dark, sinister things, you know what I mean? I have to think like this guy is trying to kill my family, whatever, because otherwise I can't fight how I should fight. I don't want to go in there relaxed, which is why I get Brad to slap the shit out of me before I go in. You know, I need to go in there and fight off, in a way, emotions. It's controlled aggression, but I need to go in there thinking I need to put this guy out to perform at my best. And as I said, that whole week was bad. And it was like, I kind of kept saying to my dad before, even before the weight cut, I was like, something's not right. You know, I feel great physically and I was healthy and whatnot, but I just didn't want to be there. You know, I didn't want to fight and I was having doubts in my head. Like, you know, I've taken this film 5 weeks. Do you think it makes a difference? And, you know, everyone's reassuring me, but I just wasn't switched on. And then obviously I think the fouls, the kicks in the dick, and then the crowd booing you, it's just all like, you know, part of me felt, you know what, I'm done with this. You lot keep booing, I'm off, I'm going.
So was there any moments in the fight where you kind of lost focus and you kind of...
The whole fight. Yeah. And then the last sort of 2 minutes when I knew I sort of had him, I just kind of was thinking, don't get caught in the process of trying to catch him. And then it run out of time. You know, for me, I think I'd be better at 5 rounders. You know, fitness-wise, I could have gone on all day. I'm not happy with the result. You know, my team has put in a review to have it looked at and see if we can get it overturned, and then hopefully I can get a rematch. Whether they do or don't, I don't really know. But, you know, I'm kind of more disappointed in myself because I didn't perform how I should have. And I kind of knew that the week. I just knew something wasn't right. And then obviously in that first 10 seconds of the second round when he kicked me in the nuts and then the crowd were booing me, I honestly just felt like saying, there's my gloves. Fuck off. Yeah. You know, I felt like saying, I've had enough of you lot. I'm going home.
Yeah.
But you can't do that.
No.
So then, you know, I'm fighting off emotion. I'm getting, which is bad on my part. You know, I'm telling the crowd, oh, you know, get lost, whatever. It's so tricky, innit? You're going off emotions as well. So, you know, I know it's easy for people to say, don't get emotional and just fight, but it's hard. But like when I go into the fight, I don't want to hurt no one. At the end of the day, I'm an athlete and this is competition. This is what I call play fighting. But obviously to perform at my best, I need to knock people out. I need to submit them. I need to win. You know, I need to hurt them. I need to, like, if I can throw elbows and cut them open, make it as nasty as possible for them. I need to be as aggressive as I can. For me to do that, I need to kind of convince myself and that, you know, this guy's trying to hurt me. So it's like you guys, you know, someone come in now and said, do any of you want to fight? But like, no. If someone come in and just slapped you across the face and said, your mum's this and your dad's that, no, I guarantee you, all of you be like, right, outside, you know, you're ready to go. That's how I thrive in there, I think.
So obviously you mentioned that you're outside of fighting as well, you start a few businesses, but you've also started the Prospect Apparel. You tell us a little bit how that started and what that means to you and where you hope to get that.
If people don't know what prospect means, you know, it's someone that's going to achieve things in what they're doing. So that could be in business, that could be, it doesn't have to be an athlete. But I wanted to create something with the story behind being that these are for the prospects. You know, this is Prospect Apparel. This is going to be for the kids that are going to achieve things in whatever they're doing. And that's the same thing with Prospect Academy. I'd like to think that this is an academy for prospects. You know, if you want to be good at judo, jiu-jitsu, whatever, we've got it all on there. So a lot of UFC fighters now, I think, are doing the tutorial side of things. They're charging a lot for it. I think that's 70 quid, 80 quid. And to me, it's a bit of a gimmick. You know, you're just going to get a couple of your fans, buy it, make a quick buck and go. Which is why I've priced it at $4.99, because I want it to be like, stay with us. Some people probably don't have gyms around the corner or they're too shy. Maybe you're too intimidated.
Look at me for.
Like, I was intimidated when I first went to the gym. So it's my idea of saying, you can now train with us, you can talk to us, you know, they can come on the forums with us and literally chat to me, Brad, Ash, anyone they want and ask questions. You get a bit of confidence, you know.
If you want to check out the Prospect Academy or any of the Prospect Apparel, all the links down below, guys, as well.